The big story today, new guidelines on COVID-19 and what you need to know if someone in your office is infected. Latest on the cluster at the madrasah in Bradel Road, all 8 cases are from the same class. And in court news, 2 women are fined $3,000 each for insulting an auxiliary police officer. Good evening, you're watching The Big Story coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. I'm Haryanto Diman. You can subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode. Starting from today, more precautionary measures are being put in place at workplaces to lower the risk of a large spike in COVID-19 cases. Social gatherings and interactions are no longer allowed at work, and tougher action will be taken if there are positive cases amongst staff. If an employee is found to have contracted COVID-19 and was in the workplace on any of the previous 7 days, the company must implement a SNEF 14-day work-from-home regime for all employees who are able to do so. Work from home should start no later than 1 day after the positive test result. And the company should encourage all employees to conduct self-swab tests every 2 to 3 days during the 14-day period. These updated guidelines on safe management measures at the workplace were issued by the Manpower Ministry together with the National Trades Union Congress and the Singapore National Employers Federation. And joining me now for a closer look is SNEF's Executive Director, Sim Kim Guan. Welcome to the show, Kim Guan. Help us understand the reasons or rationale behind these stricter guidelines. Now, the Health Ministry said on Monday that the recent clusters at the workplace are due to lax safe management measures, especially in areas like staff canteens and pantries.
I think we should look at the new measures in the context of the increasing number of cases. And of course, the COVID-19 virus continue to evolve. And so the steps we need to take will also have to evolve. And this will help to arrest and prevent a significant increase in the number of cases.
And Kim Guan, how has the reaction from firms and employers been to the new guidelines? Any concerns from them?
I think generally, employers do understand the need to take steps like this so that we can keep our employees as well as workplace safe. However, as these measures have only been recently announced, I think employers are also seeking greater clarity, especially as different employers have got quite different work arrangements. So let me give an example of an employer that may operate across different floors within the same building. So should they encounter a case, the question that they ask is whether there is a need to then have all employees across all floors who can work from home immediately. And of course, the need to implement the SNEF 14-day measures can be quite challenging because there's going to be quite a lot of communication that's required and could also be disruptive. So companies and employees alike actually do need to be a lot more agile as well as resilient, even as different kind of measures may need to be put in place to help us be a lot more resilient towards COVID-19.
And Kim Guan, talking about challenges, you mentioned earlier quite briefly, what could be other possible challenges in following the rules and how could work operations be affected?
Okay, one thing that I think we need to remember is that this is but one of many different measures that needs to come together. They all complement each other. So in addition to requiring workers to work from home, actually there's also the other part, which is the regime for testing. As more people are vaccinated, it is likely that they will present with no symptom or what we call asymptomatic, even as they may have the COVID-19. So testing more regularly actually will allow employers and individuals alike to know if they indeed have the virus much earlier. And if they know that before they go to the workplace, then the disruption to operations will be significantly reduced. It'll be good if the government can look into how they can support businesses with the testing, right? So our strategy is trace, test, vaccinate, right? So test is one of the steps, and providing the test kits to company. I think the government is already preparing to do that up to end of this year, right? I think if the government can continue to support businesses with this particular cost, I think that will be quite useful and helpful. As you know, it can serve as a bit of a forewarning, right? Allowing individuals to do regular testing. And then if they find that they are, let's say over weekend, they find that they're positive, then they can immediately seek help. I think the spread across the community will certainly be managed better if people are doing more regular testing. We note also that in these latest measures that have been implemented, it is also somewhat calibrated, as workers that do need to go to the workplace can continue to go to the workplace. Separately, I think there are also employers that have also implemented, continue to implement measures such as Team A, Team B to ensure business continuity. And they are certainly hoping that there can be further calibration in terms of how the steps are being taken. So for example, if Team A, an individual in Team A has COVID-19, perhaps since Team B did not come into contact with Team A, that Team B be allowed to go back to the office. I think this will certainly present greater flexibility for companies, even as they are also taking steps to prevent further spread through the workplace.
Well, thank you so much, Kim Guan, for your time. That was Executive Director at the Singapore National Employers Federation, Sim Kim Guan, on the updated safe management measure guidelines at the workplace. Today marks the start of a pilot travel scheme to allow fully vaccinated travellers to enter Singapore without quarantine. And the first flight under the vaccinated travel lane has just arrived from Frankfurt in Germany. Singapore has unilaterally opened the VTL to travellers from Germany and Brunei. Vaccinated travellers from these two countries will go through up to 4 PCR tests in lieu of quarantine and have to adhere to other conditions. Singapore Airlines will operate 3 VTL flights weekly from Frankfurt and 2 VTL flights weekly from Munich. In other COVID-19 news right here in Singapore, all 8 cases at Madrasah Irshad Zuhri Al Islamiyah in Braddell Road involve pupils from the same primary 4 class. The cluster was reported by the Health Ministry yesterday. The first 2 infections were detected last Friday and the pupils were last in school on September 1st. All P4 pupils in the school have been placed on leave of absence. P1 to P5 students will also have home-based learning when the new term begins next week. Meanwhile, last night, MOH reported Singapore's largest cluster in the community has been declared closed. With a total of 1,155 cases, the Jurong Fishery Port and the Hong Lim Market and Food Centre cluster has had no cases linked to it for a few weeks now. The cluster, which surfaced on July 16th, resulted in the virus spreading to more than 30 wet markets and causing some to be shut temporarily. The spike in cases then also led to tightened measures as Singapore returned to Phase 2 heightened alert on July 22nd. MOH also said last night that 28 new cases were added to the growing cluster linked to staff at 8 bus interchanges, bringing the total now to 537. Toa Payoh Bus Interchange has the most number of cases with 174, followed by Boon Lay with 136 cases. Then a sharp drop at Clementi Bus Interchange with 47 cases. Sengkang has the least number of cases at 28. And a quick look at other clusters in Singapore as at last night. The Bugis Junction cluster has 291 cases, while the Changi General Hospital cluster stands at 54. And the construction site at 30 Sunview Way, previously known as the Westlight Kranji Way cluster, has 26 cases. In total, Singapore has 53 clusters ranging between 3 and 291 cases. In other headlines, 2 women were each fined $3,000 today for verbally abusing an auxiliary police officer. Ko Li Yen and Chi Kam Fa said, quote, "Talk to rich people nicely, you're a poor girl," to Miss Ashika Suri Kamsari when the latter approached them for smoking outside a designated area in Orchard Road. Miss Ashika was authorized under the National Environment Agency to carry out enforcement action against public health offenders. For using insulting words towards a public service worker, Ko and Chi could have been each jailed up to a year or fined up to $5,000 or both. Separately, a British man allegedly linked to a case involving Wirecard has been handed 4 more charges of abetting to falsify a document. James Henry O'Sullivan now faces 5 charges, which also names a local man, R. Shanmugaratnam, in all of them. O'Sullivan is accused of instigating the Singaporean to falsify documents on multiple occasions. Wirecard filed for insolvency last year after admitting that 1.9 billion euros in cash was missing from its accounts. Now, Apple fans are something to look forward to next week as the tech giant is set to hold a special event on September 14th where the new iPhones are expected to be unveiled. While radical changes to the smartphone are not expected this year, most analysts are pointing to smaller technical updates to the phone's processor and camera system. The new line of iPhones are expected to expand the portrait mode feature to video and also have higher quality video recording format. And those are our top stories for today. For more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below. I'm Haryanto Diman. Join us tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.